I'm feeling unusually self-destructive tonight. It's a Saturday night. I've actually been meaning to make a vlog on the subject for some time. This is going to be about a very significant subject. It's going to be about half the population of the earth. I'm just going to deal with something which is one of the primary wiring devices in the electromagnetic wiring of human cognition. That's going to be about women. It's going to be about sexual relationships. What I'm about to go into is going to be judged. Everything I go into is judged, but what I'm about to go into is something that I personally hope that nobody that knows me ever watches this. Now, the first thing is women are like women are like midgets living in a world full of dangerous giants. So there is a ultimate mixture, always a gray area, wherein you think you have sympathy for women. But you have to wonder, like, you know how many guys there are that are just shitty? You know how many guys there are that you just would hate if you knew everything about them? Well, can you say that for women? You should be able to. You should hopefully expect as many shitty women as shitty guys. So, what am I going to do this about? What am I going to say first? A lot of women have something shielding them, and it's that it's always the man's fault. Now, in an ideal world, women find out how they contribute to the world to such an extent that sometimes they can actually take responsibility for how the world is. So as I give this speech, which may sound misogynistic, you're going to have a gut reaction, which is, oh, you know, how could you say that, you man? You're responsible. They're not responsible. You will attack me personally somehow to throw all the blame off. But let me just start with, there's something that I can't stand. And it's people that just defend women no matter what. Like, if a mom jumps out of a car specifically for the purpose of letting the car land in the lake while her children are drowned to death so that she can kill her kids, are you going to blame the man? At what point will you actually blame a woman for what something wrong has happened? I mean, is that asking for too much? Is it asking for too much to ask for society to place a little bit of pressure on women to modify their behavior in such a way that it is morally good? Women have a lot of pressure. And unfortunately, it's pressuring them to be morally bad. I'll explain. Inside of the genome of every man, of the gender of man, in his structure. Okay, first let me say this. Men actually have fantasies consisting of raping women. Now that to men may not be interesting. To women, probably. But guess what I've heard? That women actually have fantasies of men raping them. Now, let's just say that that's true. What that says is that rape is a part of who we are. And that's true. I would say a very significant percentage of any life form's genome consists of a male forcing a reproductive act on a female. And in some sense, women have even expressed like they want to be dominated. If you watch the old movies, you see the guy, he like slaps the girl and then he pulls her in close and then she kisses him. He's kissing her and she doesn't want it to happen, and all of a sudden she gives in and she's kissing him, and it's kind of like, whoa, what about that? You know, like it's like it makes you laugh. Okay, so why am I saying that? Well, men, in their genome, in their genetic behavior, there is a rapist. There is something about their biology that they have to suppress. That if they were to act on that very strong biological urge, they would be immoral. They would be outside of what we consider like societally acceptable. But what is the equivalent for women? Because it's surely not being not the victim of a rape. Well, as it turns out, women have a similar situation, because it is about what they select in their mate. What the woman has to suppress is something that they face daily, which is that they must suppress their, it's a nasty word, their whoreness, their desire to have sex with someone who will gain them in material way. They're using sex to take advantage of a man. Their whoreness. Lo and behold, in today's society, it is not only socially acceptable, but almost socially required by even their parents, that women decide their mate based on what the man can offer them materially. And you will watch women take upon themselves the most disgusting and ugliest of men. Women have absolutely no shame when it comes to the quality of their mate. If that mate can somehow benefit them in this material sense, right? They don't think about the mate. See, for men, it's intrinsic. Like women for men are intrinsic. Now, you have to understand, it's not to say men are holy, okay? But for them, if a woman were to, if a man really just like really wanted this woman, and she like jumped out of a plane, or she fell out of a plane, and this man was super desperate, this is just conceivable, right? The guy would jump out of the plane just to like feel her body as they plummeted to their death. Just to feel her body. That is how powerful the urge is in a man. The reason being is that, statistically, in every species that has this form of sexual reproduction, where there's males and females, the men only have a 25-30% chance of reproduction in every species. So for all of the males, only 25 to 30% of them are actually expected to actually reproduce, aka have sex. But for females, it's like way up there. It's like 80 to 85% of females, this is just some study, I don't know, look it up, are going to reproduce. So that means you have a very sexually, a very sexually secure gender and a very sexually insecure gender. Like, not even like in their control, it's in their DNA. You have the ones that try, and you have the ones that don't try. Men are in the sexual realm, women are not. Women concerned, their love is reserved for their children. Men love their children too, but their inherent biological drive is to mate with women. It's like it's not even, and it's a joke. It really is a joke, and women find it are so insecure. It's amazing how much they'll lie, but you have to say, like, yeah, well, how many guys out there would lie about this? So, I'm trying not to be misogynistic, okay? I'm trying to be fair. But I have to, like, actually say, like, women are just absolutely incapable. Like, no, I mean, I haven't heard or seen one be straight up or honest. In fact, if you ever want to get like an honest opinion from a woman, get it from a stripper. Get it from somebody who is so desensitized to the whole thing that she does not care to tell you the truth. That's not to say that I've actually gotten it from a stripper, but I'm just saying, like, I've noticed that about their personalities. That they're so open about their whoreness that they will just tell you what it is that's the truth. So that's kind of important. But where was I? Now, yeah, so women have to suppress that part of them that is a whore. Sex for them is instrumental. It is not intrinsic. For men, it is very intrinsic. So in a way, you could almost say men have to suppress how much weight they put on sex, and women have to amplify that. And perhaps that's what makes them so insecure. Because what's really going on in their mind is they're measuring up the man for what he is in this material world. Where does he weigh? What's his socioeconomic status? What is his fame? Like what women really want? What's the ideal man that women want? They really would love to have like somebody who is famous, but is famous because he's like a hero. That's natural for them. It's all about status. However, in this world, do we have that? You know? Are you, as a woman, going to, that's almost the conspiracy behind it, right? Money is like this liquid format for achieving women. And if you're a guy and you have a woman, you actually have to be honest with yourself and think like, does this woman, you should actually say that. Does this woman want me sexually? Does she want me for my body? Does she want me because of how cool I am? Those are things that all men should desire. In fact, the man has to, because it's almost like being able to offer a woman the material wealth and feeding her whoring desire is like, in a way, raping them, right? Because they don't want to have sex with you. They're just doing the sex thing to get what you would offer them. So sensitive is this subject that I'm feeling like I will find this quite embarrassing. YouTube, despite the fact that I would be able to delete it, I'm very sure that YouTube would always have it somewhere located, so for blackmailing purposes, for observational purposes. Let me chill out for a minute. People always want to get personal when you bring this up. They want to say, what's going on in your life? It becomes very ad hominem. And you know what? I was almost about to do this. I actually was dating, or pretty much engaging in something which would have led into something with a girl, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bag that first, and then I'm gonna make my video, so that people don't make a connection between, oh, this can't be valuable information because this is all just someone who's getting it wrong. Now, I know people who have had lots of girls in their life. Some of them high quality, but the vast majority, I'm not being fair because I know that this person might watch it. The person is rather indiscriminate as to what he considers good looking. But I'm actually different than that. I'm quite a bit discriminate. And it's only recently that I've realized, like, society is so shot that my capacity for hoping for something of high... Let's talk about what my history would suggest about me. I fell in love, the only person I ever fell in love with, shared mutual love with, was somebody, and this is actually relevant, was a girl who was incredibly rich, who looked like an organic Barbie doll, just beautiful. The little dog in her bag, and it's like she popped out of the movie screen. Very few people even knew that her and I had anything going on, because it only lasted for like a couple months. But that's who I fell in love with. And it wasn't even my choice. She was the one doing all of it, inviting me out on the dates and calling me on the phone every night, emailing me all the time, making it happen, because I had an inflated sense of self-worth at that age, 19, and going to college, and just acing everything. I had everything every guy wanted to be, and lots of girls liked me, and I was so religious at that time that I was just like, no, there's someone out there, and this was that someone. But and this is this actually ties into why I hate the powers of this world, because her father was the CEO of some company, and he was quote-unquote involved with the CIA. Involved with the CIA to such an extent that we had to break it off, and it was very depressing. It was life-changing. And that happens for everyone. Everyone has a story. Everyone has that, and this is just that allegorical sense of virginity, where they realize that this is not a Disney. They're not living in that picture-perfect Disney world where they're the prince and the other person's the princess. And it happens to people young. Obviously, I'm not trying to give a pity story here. However, like I said, this is very relevant. This is something that controls the world. Like, if the internet could speak, and you were to say to the internet, like, what is it that what can control the population? The internet would say, well, people are controlled by their sexual motivations. The world is controlled by sex. So this is understandably like touchy, and at the same time like the sad part is that the concept of money is so tied into sex. But it isn't tied in by men. Like, men may have set up that system in order to achieve their sex. But women, like, it's totally reliant upon, like, if women, and that's what sucks, man, because, like, if you look for who's into being concerned with which way the world's heading, you're going to have a lot of men. Because men tend to, like, men's behavior is very frayed. Like, it's true what they say, that the males of the species have to come up with very vibrant color schemes, like in the jungles and things like that, where there's a lot of security in one's own life, that the females tend to be less colorful, the males tend to be more colorful. And for men, this translates into, like, you may say, well, that's opposite for humans. Look, the women are the ones that dress up, and it's kind of like, yeah, but and like the men are more de facto, but it's actually different when it comes to behavior, because women all file into a very bland scheme, but men are likely to become very, very, very divided and different. You're going to have guys that are very, like, nerdy, and, like, when you look at the different subcultures, they're, like, piled. I mean, there's always just a majority of men. But if you look at the sort of, like, mainstream culture, tons of women, right? There's men there too, but I'm just saying. So, I mean, it's so cool how everything kind of like ties in. I was just watching the way a lightning bolt strikes, and the way a lightning bolt strikes is that there's this growing, like, as it comes down, it's like lots of little streaks are going. This is before it hit. This is before the boom. lots of little streaks going in slow motion. And then the first streak that makes contact with the Earth, the rest of the energy just shoots down and goes through. And so you can almost kind of see that in the natural selection of human behavior. Where is this the right way? 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 And then boom, that's the right way. Just natural selection. And so that's why among men you have all of these different subcultures. Now, it's like I want to avoid covering my own story, because I don't want to make it like... I kind of want to cover it because I know that anyone who were to watch this entire thing, and let me tell you, this is like just gold, right? If anyone knows me personally, this is just gold information right here. I suppose it sounds egotistical to say that, but if anyone were to open up about their sexual motivations, men were to get really honest about it, you know who they are. You know exactly who they are. And let me tell you, when you ask women, like, hey, guess what? I have no clue what women want. And guess what? There's a sense in which they don't either. But let me tell you, whenever they start describing what they want, it's like they are totally incapable of thinking rationally. Like thinking like, hey, you're curious of what women in general want, aren't you? I'm going to tell you in general what women want. They are incapable of that. They immediately personalize it. They immediately personalize it and start thinking, here's what I want personally. Oh, like, it would not surprise me if the woman were to just say, oh, well, the guy doesn't have to, own a castle, but, it'd be really nice if every once in a while he took her out on a limo. Like, it's just not out of conception. I mean, I've seen, it's like, do not go ever to a woman for advice on how to date. Another thing, if I were to set a standard, which does not exist right now, it would be that women have to go to the men that they want. It will never happen, because women, not only are they raised to believe it's the other way around, not only do they think it's immoral if they were to do it, going back to the whore thing, but they're too afraid, because, and it's totally like, it's like any person who has a daughter needs to be like, honey, I'm going to equip you with a weapon, with a firearm. Or at least I'm going to equip you with a taser or a pepper spray. Lo and behold, so many girls are out there, no protection whatsoever. So every guy is like a mortal threat to them. Just like, and another thing is that in this society, men, especially white men, especially, I mean, you think like, oh, black men have it bad, black men have an intimidating nature. No. A random, lone white guy is a serial killer to them. Just like a nutcase, stalker, will figure out how to get into your house, rape you and kill you, and then rape your dead body. Serial killer to them. Yeah, like I said, I feel very self-destructive tonight. I am giving up. I am giving up on playing by the book. I'm giving up on playing by the book. I've decided that the very short time, hopefully long, but short time that I have on this earth will not be spent playing by any rules. That I will attempt to fight the good fight with the very short time that I have on this earth. So where was I? So, just like men have to suppress something that caused them to be alive. Cause women to be alive too, but for men, like they actually have the biological urge. And I'm talking about rape. That's literally what the man has to suppress when it comes to sexual motivation. For women, and for men are doing a great job, because men, it's like we've set up this very elaborate system which suppresses men to keep them from raping women. I mean, in fact, you might even say that was the primary plunder, the primary thing to loot when you invaded another country. Was how much of the women were you going to be able to have sex with in that other country? I mean, that was there. But for women, the thing that they have to suppress and act against is their material desires for using men. Using men's sexual drive to fulfill their own selfish material desires. I mean, there are men out there who are assholes, who are jackasses. I have actually had a dude flick me off right next to me, and I had to stand up for myself. I had to get up close to him when I said, "Do it again." And he did it again. I grabbed his hand. Okay, it's like I'm trying to defend myself. Doesn't matter. He was being a jackass. And the girl is the bartender. Okay, I'm working, I'm a server, the girl's the bartender, and I'm just God damn, So I just continue my work, and then she comes up and defends him. Just absolutely hey, he's just a little drunk. And I was that was totally uncool. I didn't even have to say that. I was just oh, okay. And then, it was just kind of no, I mean, that was, that was a jackass move. Can you, negatively stimulate him a little bit? You know what I mean? Absolutely defended him. Because she wants to be with the rich kid. He matters to such an extent that his coolness, his behavior which was out of line, did not matter. So you see this compromise with women. They have to, all that matters to them. Luckily, thank God for the fiat global currency system that we have, that all material wealth is now represented by the paper Federal Reserve note. So I can actually say all that mattered to her was money. I mean, because that's kind of like what it can boil down to, because money is exchangeable for everything. No higher thinking going on. No like, should I actually date somebody who is a jackass? Just not going on in there. And she was a pretty girl. Another thing is, if you're like, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're like a 3 and you're a girl, you can shit. If you're a 1 and you're a girl, you could just go around and like just openly displaying, I'm horny, even though they don't even have that. I swear to God, I'm horny. I want to have sex. Just say that they do. You know, when I say they don't have that, it's like you have to look at things, because they'll be like, no, we do have a sex drive. It's like, yeah, you do. I'm saying that in relation to a man's sex drive. The sex drive you think you have, the one that you want to have, is like less than 1% by comparison to a man's sex drive. Like I just gave the example of how like a man will fall to his death for the purposes of having, because he has such a strong sex drive. Like, you know, whoever did the hierarchy of needs did it correctly. He did it in such a way that sex for men was up there on the ladder. And that just has a lot to do with what we're made out of. I mean, like, is it just like coincidental? It's not just coincidental. It's like how the species functions. Like men have to grow these goddamn like feathers, like these ridiculous feathers to try to have sex with women. I mean, men, like literally, there's that sexual pressure for evolution. So men with this men actually are the modification of the species. Like women, they just have that basic X chromosome, and they have the basic X chromosome. For men, though, is basic X chromosome, and then it has this weird chromosome, the Y chromosome, which is to say that the men is the species trying. I mean, that's the best way to put it. The men is the species changing. The men is the species going somewhere. Evidence all around us. Look what it is that men has done. You know what I'm saying? Look at the mathematics that we've come up with that has done these things. And women these days, like, I actually have to suppress. You know, this is getting darker. I have to actually suppress, like, laughter and just sheer hatred for them. Just outright, just, I hate you. I hate you for, maybe you don't think you're better than me, but you are definitely acting that way. I mean, it's just like, you know what's going on when you put it in the perspective of, like, when you abstract and you say we're equal, like, you know, we're equal, like we're assumed to be equal, and you are like just absolutely outright just you know, I hate saying that. There's so many like intricacies to what's going on. Like I said, there's this mixture of victim and at the same time like fault, because, you know, I mean, like, you know, but where do you draw the line? We're all victims and we're all guilty in some way or another. However, it's kind of like it's time for them to modify. It's time for them to change. It's time for them to stand up. Hold on a second. your eye itches and you have contacts in, you've got to take that contact out, because if you itch your eye with your contact in, you'll slice your eye open and you'll have an eye infection, you'll get a scar, and then you'll go partially blind. So I took it out, now I'm itching my eye. Now where was I? So it's kind of like, you know, somebody uses it against you. Oh, you're a single guy, you know, like, shouldn't you be ashamed? And it's kind of like, dude, like, girls go out with ugly ass dudes. Like, good looking girls will go out with a fucking ugly dude. Like, uncool asshole. Like, you know, it's kind of like guys actually feel proud to be called jerks and assholes. It's kind of like, so not asshole, but like retarded idiot. How would I describe some of these guys? Just kind of like blind, just absolutely blind. No big picture, just, you know, wears a Tim Tebow jersey. Like, how fucking gay are you to wear a Tim Tebow jersey? Or wearing a damn toy watch? You know, let me go ahead and rant for a minute. Like, girls, just like, whatever girl, just eat it up, wear the toy watches that basically got popularized, and you think, you know, like, hey, you know, I'll just do what everyone else is doing and I'll wear a single color toy watch. But men actually strap on the toy watch. And I'm like, are you hoping that some muscular faggot will grab you, throw you into a van and rape you? Like, why are you wearing a toy watch? What was I talking about? I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I'm 86ing my entire situation. I'm throwing this out there. I'm putting this on the internet primarily for the purposes of, it's really important. It's like one of those things that's extremely important nobody talks about because it's so touchy. But you know what I found out? The things that people don't talk about end up being like the stumbling block for one's own life. So I am going to put this out there. Maybe the internet will learn from it, even if it rejects it openly. Whatever. You know, we only have a short time on this life, and you know, like, how are you going to spend it? And this is just like, I know, hopefully, if society persists, that the shit on the internet, you know, even if it didn't, it doesn't matter. Like, all of this stuff is happening, and it's getting recorded in time. And, you know, more than likely, future generations are going to have access to this information. And they're going to know more than us, and they're going to want to know what we were thinking. And just like today, where we espouse the thinkers of the Enlightenment period who were actually just sort of like fringe and like suppressed and hated by the people of their time. They're considered heroes by us now for being right, for having the right idea. Women. Yeah, I'm talking about women. So I've had about 11, I don't know, probably about 13 intimate relationships with women. And these were quality women. I mean, like I'm not going to brag, but just like, they were quality women, you know? They're not like random, you know, bar flies, you know? I'm not going to name them because it's possible that they have found me and they watch me, and it's, you know what? Like, everything affects a girl. Like, let me say this. When it, you know, like, there's the I'm putting on the show, and then there's the what's going on in the background. So women tend to think men are stupid because men put on, their show is what's going on in the background. Men are open. Women, on the other hand, there's something going on in the background that even if you were to communicate towards it, they would reject you outright because it's so sensitive. They've got the show going on, and what's going on outside of them is their vehicle, in other words, to get done what's going on in the background. All I'm trying to say is that women are putting on a show, putting on a facade all the time. And other women, you know, the ones that are kind of like disdainful of them, are constantly reading that. And so there's this like strange hatred between women for simultaneously hating the fact that they're fake, and at the same time, kind of like, hang on a second. It's just like I'm wondering whether or not I'm actually filling in all the gaps. Like I'm talking to somebody who I talk to about this stuff all the time, and you know, like we know certain things. Am I covering those bases? I don't know. What am I talking about? Okay, so looks. When it comes to like a guy's looks, like women get beauty and looks forced down their throats every second of their life. That they have no, there's actually just a inborn hatred, not even admiration, hatred for anyone who has been blessed with looks. Just hatred. Because let me tell you, like when you're a girl and you're in a social setting and a girl that walks in and she's like out of this world good looking, the guys go straight zombie mode. Like, will immediately, like, all of their attention, subconscious or otherwise, is going to be on the hot girl, the hottest girl in there. And if somebody comes in that's like 10 times hotter than her, all the guy's attention is going to be over at that person. So the girl whose entire life and being is societally wrapped into what she's worth to men, like sinks. Like mayday, mayday, I'm worthless in this life is what goes through her mind. And so it's sad. Like this is part of that victim thing. But unfortunately, rather than say, let me emulate this person that guys like. Because let me tell you, like, guys are not conscious about it. Okay? That is something that's out of control. They don't like to hear this. It doesn't matter. The girls don't like to hear this. But for guys, it is totally out of their control what they like. Like, men can just outright describe for you what they want out of a woman. The perfect woman. And, you know, instead of like emulating, like saying, like, what can I do to be of that quality of woman, they actually like hate and project and just there's like hatred of her, hatred of themselves, hatred of the guys. there's not the proper response of like attempting to solve the problem. Instead, it becomes a sort of like a destructive reaction, because they can't solve it. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to call it. It's like a hot girl walks in and she's talkative and happy, and it sucks, and you kind of makes you wonder, like, maybe that's why they love money so much. But the girls that are really good looking and they're talkative and they're happy, they're very secure, but they're very secure financially. And they make really great friends, and they, it's a shitstorm, dude. Let me tell you what needs to change, what needs to happen in order to get out of this sexual suppression, this slavery that I'm personally so focused on. People say, people may say of you, oh, what are you doing? How are you contributing to society? How successful are you? And it's kind of like, like, even if I were to say something like I was successful, right? Kind of like, oh, I own a sunglasses company. Are you really intrinsically contributing to society by owning a sunglasses company, right? Like, you sell sunglasses. Oh, I'm making a lot of money. It's like, no, you're not doing shit for society. Nothing. Nothing. Your life is worthless. Worthless. So, what do we talk about when we say contribute to society? Guess what I'm fucking obsessed with? Guess what people like me are just absolutely obsessed with? Just can't stop thinking about it. It's like making society work better. That's my, like, that is my, that is who I am. It is not bottled up in some sort of hobby. It's like strange. It's like, what happens is, to talk about the subject opens up the possibility of personal attacks. And so, as I begin to talk about it, I immediately feel the need to protect myself from any possible attack that might come my way. And it's like, let me tell you how you know who you are. Okay. If you can imagine replicas of yourself in a room, what would that room be like? The cooler that room is of a whole bunch of replicas of you, the cooler you are. Like, if there was a bunch of me's, like, I can't even think about how awesome it would be if I just had one replica of myself. One replica of myself. Like, if I could say I have any sort of, like, love, and I've actually had to do this, they actually, now they've developed it into some sort of a psychological coping method, but I have actually had to, because I've actually had to live a lot of my life alone, just outright the outsider kind of personality. I've actually had to create a replica of myself to cope with the world. And it is through that that I know who I am. But other people, if they were to make a whole bunch of replicas of themselves, the room would either like empty out, you know, they wouldn't like themselves. Because they could not stand each other. I'm diverging. What do they call it? Back to the dating game. If you're a guy, and this is not therapeutic for me, but if you're a guy and you're not doing so well, and there's a lot of you out there, there's a lot of you guys that just kind of grew up and you're doing the right thing your whole life, and shit's not going too well for you with regard to women. The world is going to try to blame you, even though you're a nice man that wants to do good. They'll blame you, and then they will use your insecurity against you. They will try to turn you into something in order to satisfy that strongest desire in your mind. This does, in fact, manifest itself in every way. In the police officer that does what he doesn't understand, even though it feels wrong, he'll do it anyway, because there is a subconscious drive, a sexual drive, and insecurity. It's not even, I'm not going to be so cruel as to call it insecurity, but there's a sexual motivation behind that. And that may even be foreign for women, but sex is everything to men. In fact, that kind of shows how insignificant men should actually be in the world. I mean, like I haven't actually thought of what a woman-controlled world would be. But I'm starting to wonder that because women are so detached from their sexual urges, would that be a better world? Would that be a better system? But the thing is that they tend to personalize everything. But if there were among them rational women, it would be the most hardcore rational thing you could ever come up with. And that's the truth. And let me tell you, like, when we do away with this system of liquidifying or liquefaction of our needs, right? Like let me tell you, like, nothing is more beautiful than a woman who is secure in her not just financial needs, but like who is secure in knowing that she has everything in this material sense. All of her needs are taken care of. Then she's going to go for the guy that's aesthetically appealing. I know. I mean, like, that's the kind of girls that will introduce themselves to you, be interested in you, and like you. Because there's no, like, I need to think ahead materially for the future. And when in the system we're so set up for debt, and we're so set up for insecurity of having these needs which only the very few can have, But it's the girls that are so secure in that aspect, that are cool and actually will go out of their way to get the guy that they want. So, it's like there is no other fight. Like if you're out there and you're a guy, there is no other fight than the fight to change this society. There is no compromise. And I personally do not want to settle down. Like I actually had that chance. Year and a half or so, I don't know. But I had that chance. And I rejected it. I said, I don't want to run. I don't want to cop out. I don't want to settle down. Said, there's something else, there's something bigger in this world, and I know that. And I rejected that possibility. And I would still reject it. I don't know. So much more to cover. It's kind of like I'm saying, like, as far as dating advice goes, it's like I'm saying there is no advice like have a lot of money. It's like the change actually has to occur for women. And in fact, if men wouldn't put up with it, let's just say that's the problem though, is that men are not expected to have a sort of like altruistic mindset wherein they say, hey, I don't want this girl because this girl just wants me for my money. The guy is obviously not going to be able to reject that. And they say, no, whatever, man. There's going to be like, oh, you're so bitter. You're so bitter because, no, okay, I know. I mean, like, I have actually just gone to girls and said, hey, like this girl will actually, like, get my phone number. Go out of her way to get in a situation where we're together. Get my phone number. Invite me out. We'll go out. She assesses where I am, like, socioeconomically. Makes her decision. No. Becomes psychotic and cruel. Attempts to get me into this situation where I, like, start feeling like I'm investing in her. Like, that's the sucky part, dude. Like, if you're like a desirable, I hate to say, assuming these things. If you're like something that would naturally be desirable if the girl had her shit together, then what happens is she turns on you. Like, it's actually this reaction of I don't want him, but I want him to want me, and then that'll be good. Like, I don't want him now, but I respect his opinion to such an extent that I want to get that. I want to get that about him. And if you give that up, you've kind of contributed to your own demise. So I don't like to give that up. Where was I? Oh, then the sleazeball guy that everyone talks shit about. But lo and behold, he actually has a lot of money. But awkward as hell. Just like absolutely like talking about, wrote a book about how he does these, like, I feel like I'm censoring myself. weird things to girls, right? Then he talks to the girl who basically used me, just used me. And that would cause the guy, that would, then she just goes for the guy who approached her, and it's because the guy had money. The guy was loaded. And that is not an ideal civilization. That is not an ideal world. There is not a part of me that says, hey, that's just the way it is. Get money or be not satisfied sexually. I would rather just reject that society altogether. Just be like, fine. I am not going to compromise. That is not an ideal existence. I hope nobody watches this, to be honest with you. Nobody I know. But, a lot of girls are going to go, that's not true. I've turned down rich guys. Oh, really? You've turned down, let me tell you what you turned down.